choir and Tate, thank you for that beautiful anthem. We may be missing Emily, but we're not missing a beat. That was incredible. It's been 20 years since I stood here. By the way, good morning. I wanted to say that to you. I'm just so moved by that choir number. It's been 20 years since I stood here and delivered what was then called a stewardship testimony. I can recall 3 elements from those moments. First, I asked our congregation to consider bringing deviled eggs to the covered dish celebration luncheon on the very next Sunday. Lo and behold, maybe a couple of you remember, folks brought at least 1,000 eggs on that September Pledge Sunday. And I may be exaggerating because it might have been more like 1,000 half eggs, you know how they're cut in two. I say that to remind you that to make plans to attend our church catered, right? I hope it's catered generosity celebration luncheon 2 weeks from today. That's on Sunday the 28th. It's a wonderful opportunity for us to gather around tables and break bread, together a key element of our Via Charis way of grace, so please don't miss it. The second thing I recall from 2005 is what I call this cost of living empty thread of spool. Do you remember Mary Caldwell's remarks last year? She stood in this spot. She's my Inca High School classmate and friend, by the way. But she stood here and told us of finding among her mother's possessions a bag labeled "Strings Too Short to Use." Well, 20 years ago, before I did the presentation, I raided my mother's 6-decade collection of sewing thread. She too was a child of the Depression, Mary. Why did I need a wooden spool? Because when I was a little boy, my grandfather taught me how to carve notches in the wheels, to make wheels there, and to attach a rubber band and a matchstick to create a little powered tractor that would go across the ground. I played with that for hours. How things have changed today. We as parents and grandparents now shop at Walmart, and we pay about $49 for a molded plastic tractor. And then it's one that our child is likely to play with for a few minutes and then toss aside. How many times have we seen that? And this Christmas, with tariffs, it may even be $59. This spool of thread still has a price tag on it, 59 cents. And guess what? It was 1,000 yards of thread. My mother was very active, evidently. You'll agree that demands on our income are challenging, with everything from toys to school clothes to cell phones to groceries. 20 years ago, I remember describing how Patricia and I often struggled to make ends meet when we were married in 1970, living on about $9,800 a year annual income as a second lieutenant in the Air Force. And we had the real need to feather our nest at that time, too. But here's an important caveat about that. Both of us were raised in church-going families that practiced stewardship. On Saturday night, I laid out my church clothes. I had to shine my black shoes. They were always black. And I marked my offering envelope and put that quarter or dime, whatever it was, in there. Did that every single week. So across our 55 years of wedded bliss, she okayed that part of the presentation. In 8 homes and in 5 states, we have consistently attended church. Over those years, step by step, we have grown into giving, and that grown is a key word, folks. It's not easy sometimes. Yes, our offerings have contributed to the life and missions of 9 church communities, but we discovered the real joy of giving is based on this simple fact. God created each of us to have loving and generous hearts. Giving helps us. Brothers and sisters, that is our default position. Giving soothes our souls. And thus, submitting our pledge, Patricia and I, last week for 2026 was a very special occasion in our home. But there is a lot more that we can pledge beyond the vital offering plate. Service. That's what my little talk's supposed to be about, right, Casey? First Baptist Church is building community with our neighbors, and about 25% of next year's budget is earmarked for attending to the creation element of Via Charis, with vibrant programs like Lunch at the Crossroads, our free market, our food pantry, and our clothes closet. At our first deacons meeting this past Monday night, I'd planned to show one PowerPoint slide, a montage of about a dozen photos, to illustrate how vibrant our church has become. Those who were there will know it took 3 slides, and that was really not enough. And now here's the ask. I always was trained, you got to make an ask. Some of you are already all in with our campaign. I would like for you and for me to become, first of all, more immersed in the life of this dynamic church. And for me personally, that's going to be opening my heart to others by getting involved in the Thursday activities I have just described. What will you do, each of you, I pray? Second, in support of our ambitious agenda of worship, learning, service, and belonging, each of us must step up and support this church with our financial gifts. I am pleased to report that as of today, early in the campaign, we have already received more than 40 pledges, a majority of those from my fellow deacons who are leading the way. And I have to add this, at midnight last night, I received a text from a deacon who said, I couldn't figure out how to pledge online, but I'm telling you, we are going to double our gift for 2026. That was so heartwarming. And here's the most important thing we've learned about the pledges so far. Nearly 2/3 of those who have pledged have increased their gifts by an average of 12%. It was just not that one person. Thank you, and others, please join in. You may bring your pledge card to our special worship service on the 28th, or you can deliver it sooner if you choose. But please make and declare your investment in our future by the 28th. You can always modify your pledge later on if your end-of-year circumstances dictate. We need you now. We always have a handful of great givers who just like to wait till the end, but we're asking you this year, make that commitment early. I close by saying thank you in advance. I love this church. I love each one of you. And as I trust that as generous and loving souls, we as a united and faithful congregation can and will fund that 2026 budget and all its incandescent promise, all to the glory of God. Thank you.